Welcome class to your Chapter 8 lecture video, Chapter 8 Using Styles and Style Sheets for Design. Our Chapter 8 objectives: create and use embedded styles, modify embedded styles, use live view and inspect mode, and work with conflicting styles. So the first couple of objectives are kind of going to be review as to what we've covered in a couple other chapters, but just maybe a different route to go about them. Embedded style. What is an embedded style? It's a style whose code is enclosed in the style tags, and they are placed in the head section of an individual page. So that's key. It's in the head section of one page and one page only. That's an embedded style. If both an external style and an embedded style are applied to a single element, so let's just say, for example, the header 1 tag, so H1, and we had color :red for embedded, and we had color :blue for external. The one that would win the fight is the embedded style. And we'll talk about the inheritance a little further along in this chapter. So embedded styles have precedence over our external style sheet. An inline style is one that is part of an actual tag. So it's part of the individual page code. It's written in our body section, so it's not in the head section. It's in the body section where you see your navigation, where you see your paragraphs, where you see your headings, where you see the divs and footers that you've created. Refers to a specific instance, so only one occurrence of a tag, and can only be used once on a page. Okay, so not seriously, it can only be used once. You can use as many inline styles as you want, but it will only apply to that one instance of that tag. You create embedded styles using CSS Designer panel, just like we have done before. So we actually did this, I believe, in Chapter 4, where we created a brand new style sheet, and then we created some styles within that, and then we ended up moving them over. So it's a little different step here. We're actually going to define in the page. So once we define in page, you will see a style tag listed here below our sources option. One of the most important tools introduced in Dreamweaver Creative Cloud is the Live View Property Inspector. It's a mini toolbar that appears above selected page elements in Live View. And we'll see that once we start applying. This toolbar will show the tag name and the selector used to format the selected text. You can use Live View Property Inspector to add or maybe modify your formatting for a particular page element, so you can save time as you format your pages. So here's an example of the Live View Property Inspector. This is the paragraph tag that holds these lines of content, and then we're going to actually use this class of contact info as we get into our example today. So let's look at these two tables before we move into our examples. So table 1, Summary of Style Types, is on page 8-5. So when we look at external, it tells us what it formats. The style is stored where, created using this source in the CSS Designer sources pane, apply the style using, and then notes. So columns of information for each type of style. So external, embedded, and inline. So if we looked at embedded, it says elements on one page, whereas external, it's multiple pages, and inline is a specific instance of a tag. If we go back to embedded, style is stored in a page head section code. Where is the external style? In a separate .css file. And then inline again in the page body. Created using the source in the CSS Designer source panel. So create a new CSS or attach an existing CSS file for external. Define in page for embedded. And then inline, it says type it in the page code in the body section. So you actually have to type the code when it comes to inline. Apply this style using, and then we have notes. So with regards to inline might be something that you try, Okay, so you try it in line within that code just to see it, and then you take it out. Same thing with embedded. It's a way for us to test our code and then go ahead and move all of those styles to an external style sheet. So pages 8 and 9. Well, actually, let me know. I skipped over the table here. So table 2, page 8-7. So different types of selectors. And again, I realize and acknowledge the fact that some of these are a little bit above and beyond the scope of this course, but these tables are good information for you if something were to come up where your style is not being applied. So class, ID, tag, compound. So a class, just so you know that a class begins with a period. So we've been typing that code all along, a period and then the class name. ID starts with a hashtag. So that's over in the notes section. It says encode begins with a hashtag sign, is used once per page, used for div tags. Tag, that is an actual HTML5 tag like H1, H2, P tag, UL, OL, div, footer, nav. Those are tags. Now, rule name is the tag name, so we don't put a period in front of H1 or a period in front of nav. It's just nav and H1. Okay, and then compound. We've seen compound in our code, maybe not even recognizing that it was compound, but let's go ahead and pull up an example of what compound is. We call those contextual selectors when we study CSS. Okay, so we have SU styles here, and I'm just going to show you an example of a contextual selector. So here's an example of a contextual selector. So here's a class name, followed by another class name, followed by another class name, and a class name, and a class name, and then LI. So it's getting to this LI that's embedded within all of these classes. When we did menu bar, let's see here, this one right here should actually say dot menu bar space li. So we're only targeting the LIs that are nested within something that has a class of menu bar assigned to it. So that's contextual, that or compound. Formats a selection. Okay. Okay, so now let's practice pages 8 and 9. So create a class style, and then we're going to view a selector in live view. So we're going to use our CSS Designers panel. Oh, I think I have it open right here already. Okay, so CSS Designers panel, and then we are going to define in page. Ignore anything that you see with the read only. That has to do with that synchronization. So just ignore that. So that's actually read only. That's going to be a problem. So we'll go ahead and save it. Well, it's not letting me do it. So let's see if I can unlock this. Unlock. 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 Okay. Now I should be able to go File, Save All. There we go. Okay, so CSS Designer. So we are going to create and define. So I'm on source code, and then I'm going to go to new source and define in page. Okay, so I don't have any media, just global, and that's the default. And then I want a new class called contact _ info. Okay, and then I'm going to add in its properties as I see in number 4 on page 8. Okay, since we want the font to be the same as the rest of our content on our page, we are not going to set a font family. Okay, so it will inherit what is set there for body. Okay, so these are our three styles: a color, italicizing, and small. Okay, so now we're going to use our live view property inspector. But first and foremost, and you got to make sure that you do this when you're working with your code. So let's see here. I feel like I don't have my address information at the bottom here. Am I on the right page? Index page. Not sure why I don't have the address information in this version. Unless I copied over the wrong files. Let me see if I can go ahead and get some different files here. Hope I don't want to be in data. I'm going to be completed. And I'm going to go for chapter 6. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to have to go ahead and recreate that style real quickly because I just replaced my files. So here, source code, all, and then define in page. Okay, there we go. Now back to page 9. So we need to remove the italicizing that we have formatted our content with, and that is the EM tag. So we are going to use our live view inspector here. So I want you to click on the menu bar here, and then I want you to go ahead and click on the I button. You may have to click it more than once to remove it. Now, I had to click it twice, and now my EM tag is removed. And I can go ahead and remove, let's see here, let me click outside of that, and now I can see the italicizing is gone. So I'm going to click back in here, and now I'm going to add in the class that I just created. I start typing it, and it pops up in my list. So I don't have to remember that it has to have a period in front of it or anything like that. And now I have p class equal contact info added. So what we try to do with web pages is we try to format with CSS. So instead of using the EM tag, we try to make sure that we use CSS to go about doing that. You can skip step number 4 on page 9. So to edit a rule, it's as simply as using the CSS designer panel and then go ahead and edit information, or we can actually use HTML attributes with our live view properties panel as well. When you use the property inspector to format a web page element, a standard HTML tag such as h1 is added to the element. You may want to change the definition of that HTML tag to have more pizzazz or more design to it than are normal or defaulted to that tag. You have used CSS Designer to create and edit selector properties and values. Once you master the basics of managing your selectors, you can learn to use several more advanced features of CSS Designer. So what we're going to do here is we're going to copy styles and we're going to place them in a particular section within our SU styles. So we've done this before where we've taken the style down here and we drag and drop it up on SU styles, but then we've had to go through code view, go to the bottom of SU_styles file, copy the global section of it, and then go ahead and move it back up into the global section at the top. So we're going to try to avoid that this time by doing a couple extra steps. So pages 12 through 17 is our practice. So first of all, we're going to edit the contact info class. So in our embedded style, contact info, we're going to change this to be all black. Okay, so now we have all black font there. We are going to open up the cafe page next. And we are going to do the same process. So we're going to define in page. And this time when we add our selector, since it's an HTML5 tag, we're just going to type HR. So this is for the horizontal rule, giving a little styling to it. And so we're going to add border properties. So we're going to come into our border category. And the border is top. The width is thin. We've got a style of solid. And our color is a blue. Okay, so now I didn't have to apply that to any of my elements like I did over here. When I was here, I had to actually apply that class because classes have to be applied. We're here with the actual HTML tag. I don't have to apply it. It automatically formats that. Okay, and you can maybe slightly see that darker blue versus a black. Okay, and now we're going to show you how styles override each other. So in Cafe, we're going to add in a new background. So you're going to see it on the right and left of your screen. And we're going to change that to a different image. So I'm going to go ahead and do a new selector, and that's body. And I'm going to do a background. So a background image. So navigating to a data file. So it's this water blue green. Click OK, and now we can see that here. But if I jump back to the index page, it's not applied here. Because again, we defined it only for this page, so it's only there for this cafe page, not for any other pages within the website. Just like at this point, contact info is only being used on the home page, not any other pages because it was defined in page. Okay, well, we decided that, hey, we don't really like that body, that image, so when we test something out and we don't like it, we go ahead and just remove it. Okay, so it's back to the default, which is all the other pages. So that was page 15. Page 16, now we're going to move properties. So we're going to start with our contact info. So we're going to jump back to the index page. We're going to right click on contact info and we're going to copy all the styles that are associated with that class. Then we're going to jump back to SU styles. Then we're going to go to global because this is where we want this to be placed. And we create the same class, contact info. Now at this point, if I go show set, contact info has no information in it. I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to paste my styles, and then when I click on show set, it has those three styles that I defined before. Okay, but now they're in SU styles, our external style sheet file, and they're within the global section. So now I'm going to jump back to style, and since I no longer need this, I don't need this selector, but I also don't need this at all. I'm going to go ahead and remove the embedded style. Contact info is still being applied because now it's in SU styles. So again, it's a way to test out styles. Apply it embedded, and then if it works and tests out great, then go ahead and move it. Allows you to be super focused. Okay, now we're going to go to the About Us page. I just want to make sure I wasn't skipping any steps. Okay, so on the About Us page, you're going to skip number 2. You want to be in design view. Also note too that if you don't see your live view, that's because you never removed your lines 15 through 28 in your style sheet file. So note that if that's not happening for you. So design view, and then we are going to select the 5 lines at the bottom of our page. Okay, so these 5 lines. Okay, and then we are going to come back to live view. And actually, I don't even think you would have to go through design view. What we want to do here is we want to make sure that we remove this emphasis tag. So if you do not see the little menu here, then I need you to use your Properties Inspector in order to remove it. So I am going to highlight these from paragraph to paragraph, and I'm going to hit my I tag. And again, I might have to hit it more than once. Okay, once I hit that, it seems like now I get my menu, and then I'm going to use this. It seems like it's more effective. So if it doesn't remove on its own, another way of going about it is to actually come in here and physically remove the EM tags. Just be careful that you don't remove any other tags that are necessary. So now we come back here, and we go to the same thing, add contact info. And since it's in our external style sheet file now, we can apply it to all of our pages. So I'm going to bring in activities. I'm going to show you that step one more time, and then you want to make sure that you do it to all of your pages. Okay, so once I select it here in the code, then that menu bar comes up, Edit HTML Attributes. And again, here I only clicked it once. Sometimes you have to click more than once, and I don't have a good explanation for you. So contact info. If you're a quick typer, you're going to beat it in the tooltip list there. So this was activities. I also have cruises, fishing, and spa that are noted to be updated. So if you feel comfortable, go ahead and use live view as much as you can, and we'll continue to explore it as we come through here. Okay, Dreamweaver Creative Cloud has many features to use with live view. You can insert page elements in live view. You can format page elements with live view Property Inspector, as we have done, and then edit page elements in live view. You can view a selector for a paragraph of text, add or edit classes and IDs to page elements, which is what we just practiced. Directly edit text and change some image properties. Cut, copy, and paste text in live view. We also have inspect mode, which helps you identify HTML elements and their associated styles. Inspect mode is a little bit tricky, but I'll slowly go through it today, and hopefully that will be of use for you. When you select the Turn on Inspect Mode button on the document toolbar while a page is open in live view, you can have an entirely different view of your page elements. As you place your pointer over a page element, it is then highlighted in the corresponding CSS elements or rules are given to you. So here's an example. Inspect mode is on. I roll over the header, and it tells me it's header. It tells me the class is fluid. Tell me the class is also header underscore div, and then gives me the dimensions of that actual image. If this CSS Designer panel is open, the properties for that active page element, so for example header, appears in the properties pane. The sources, media, and selectors pane also reflect the location and name of the selector for the active page element. It's a great way to bring our structure together with the appearance, so HTML with the CSS. Pages 20 through 25. Insert an image with live view, and we're on the About Us page. So we're, again, anything to do with hide, fluid, grid, layout guides button, you always want to skip that. So we're skipping number 2. And then we're going to insert an image right before the word after here. So I'm going to put my cursor here. And if you're in live view, you're going to have to do a double click. We want to make sure that our cursor is before the A and after the P tag. And I know that's different from how I instructed you before, but that's exactly how they want you to do this. And actually I think it would work both ways. So if you want to go ahead and put the image outside of it to correspond with how we did it in previous exercises, go ahead. So here we're going to insert an image, and we're going to insert it through the menu bar. If we try to go over here, yeah, let's see if we can do that. So we can go ahead into image, and we're going to go to document. So either way, through your menu or through your properties, or through your insert panel. And so this image is Boardwalk. Okay, so now we have Boardwalk inserted. Just a plain image tag with the source of it, no alternate text. So we want to add the alternate text, so we can click on our Edit HTML Attributes, and we're going to add in the alt text of Boardwalk to the beach. Now we click outside of that, click into our code, now our alt text is updated. Now furthermore, in Live View, we want to add in the class of image. So in your book on page 22, it spells out image in the class, and it's supposed to be just IMG. So if you start typing IMG, you're going to see your classes, and we want to use float right. So now it's floated to the right. To update content such as text, we double click in that box, so you get an orange border by default. In this case, they want us to update this 9 o'clock time frame to 8 o'clock. Now we jump into inspect mode. So inspect mode is over here on your coding toolbar. So we click on that, and as we hover over an element, it gives us a view, okay, of what classes are assigned. So this one, it says it's an image tag. We have the class of image float assigned to it, and those are the dimensions on the image. If we scroll up and get into the header information, okay, this one, it says area 0 pixel by 0 pixel. So this again is our background. Oh, here it goes. Gotta hover just right. It's usually not like that. Well, here's our body. Here's all of our individual elements here. Just trying to get that. There we go. Header, the class of fluid, the class of header div, and then our dimensions. Let's scroll down. So here's our other image. We just assigned it the image float right class. If we hover over our text here, we see that it's a paragraph with contact info assigned to it. So that's inspect mode. Now we're going to turn it off in the meantime, and then I want you to bring your attention over to the document object panel, object model panel. So as I dig through here, I can see all of my elements and how they're nested. So anything that has a double layer there, I can see how everything is nested within my document. So that replaces your element quick view button. Okay, so back here we're going to look at the clubhouse image, and as we do that, notice it over here. It says image, and then it says image underscore float. So another way that we can find out what is assigned to these elements is using the DOM panel, and also here you can use your inspect mode. Okay, working with conflicted styles. Cascading refers to the way styles are ranked in order of precedence as they are applied to page elements. So as we started this lecture, I said that embedded is ranked over external. Okay, inline is ranked over embedded. Style sheets originate from 3 sources: the author, who is the creator of the page and the style sheet; the user or person who is viewing your page; the user agent, the software through which the page is delivered. So the user agent being most likely a browser. The first order of precedence is to find declarations that specify and match the media type being used, such as a computer screen. Okay, the second order goes by this: user important declarations then the author important, then author normal, and user agent declarations. To be clarified as important, the word important is included in the rule and it's prefixed with an exclamation point. The third order of precedence is by specificity of the selector. So I'm not going to get into how that's all calculated. Just make sure that you do not have conflicting styles from embedded to external. And if you do, you'll notice through your testing. The fourth and final order of precedence is by order specified in the code. So if I have header 1 defined in my external style sheet, I say color blue. And then later on I say header 1 and I say color red. Red is the one that's going to be used because it's the last one that was defined. Pseudoclass styles refer to styles that determine the appearance of a page element when a certain state or a certain condition from information external to the HTML source is met. Toolbars, Code Navigator, Live View, and Inspector mode. We can disable or enable CSS properties, and we'll practice that. So we're going to use this little icon here, the circle with the slash through it. And then we'll look at computed values, which just means all of the values. So you'll see the word computed, and then these are all of our values. When you select one of the properties in the properties pane, the source device and the selector for that property are highlighted in their respective panes. When you're having problems determining why a page element is not appearing as you intend, again, look and disable, okay? Or maybe you even use the disable to find out if you actually want to keep that style. So our last couple pages, 28 and 29. So we're on the About Us page. And we're going to be in Design View. So Welcome Guests is what we're working with. We're going to use our CSS Designers panel. So it says header 1 here. And the font family, Source Sans Pro, Normal 200 Extra Large. It says to disable the font property. Source Sans Pro is an Adobe Edge web font. So when we change this to disable it, you'll notice that it changes in the view. Okay, so we don't see the actual view of the live portion of the font, but through Design View we can actually see. Okay, so disable and enable. Then we're going to jump to the About Us, or we're in the About Us page, and we're going to go to the Clubhouse image, and here is computed. So computed, and then these are all of the styles that are being used for that particular image. It says, so we'll click on computed, and then we're going to go to border. So these are all the styles of all of these rules over here. And we are going to go to border, and we're going to disable the border property. So now you should see the border of your image just appear in Design View, and then we will go ahead and enable it back. So you can disable individual border properties here, or you can disable it all as a whole as well. Okay, so that is chapter 8. I challenge you to use Live View as much as you can now that you know how to use it. So again, to edit text, we double click. So we got to double click to edit our text. We can use our Live Property Inspector when working with images, when working with paragraphs. So go ahead and use that, because the more you practice it, the more it's going to become familiar to you. Use these inspect modes or the DOM panel to actually see how maybe you structure something, and then maybe what classes are being applied to that or not. Okay, so maybe you thought maybe I did apply the image float right, but did I really? You could use the DOM panel to do that, or you could look through your code view as well. So let's look at our assignments page. So again, anything that has hide fluid grid layout guides button, you're going to skip those. Page 8-17, add clear of both to contact info to push address under any content. So example on the phishing page. So let's go ahead and look at that phishing page to see what I'm talking about here. Okay, so I will highlight this. Then I'm going to come and look at it here. So, you see it how it's wrapping by the image, and we want it to be placed down here below. So again, I'll remove the italicizing, and then I'm going to go ahead and add the class of contact info. Okay, so it says in my directions to add a clear of both to contact info. So CSS Designers panel. SU styles, and then come down to global and find our contact info, and in the layout category we are going to do clear both. Now once we do that, it pops this down below. It's always a good idea for any content that you want to absolutely be pushed down below something else, even like a footer, is to do clear both on it. That means both the right and left margins must be clear of content before that content is written to the screen. Just make sure you remove your existing classes or italicizing before you apply new classes. Coffee shop, continue to build it. We are 4 weeks out from it being due, so make sure that you're working on it diligently. If you need any help with any formatting, maybe you want to create a column layout and you know how to do that, you just need to contact me. Don't forget to take the chapter 7 and 8 test as well. With this chapter we have one more chapter left, and that is chapter 9. Anything you need my help with, or if you have questions, please let me know. Thank you.